Hi everybody. Now let us see what are the things, what is cost control and cost reduction. There are certain factors which help in cost control and cost reduction. What are those factors? And why do you want cost reduction? Why do you want cost control? Actually, your basic value of a product plus wastage is equal to cost. Cost plus profit is equal to selling price. We saw that purchasing function or materials function is a dynamic function and it is a profit center. If this is a profit center, any engineering we make here, that should help in the increasing the profit. So what is happening? The basic value plus wastage, which the Japanese call as muda. So eliminate the wastage, your cost comes down and your profit goes up. If you keep the same selling price, you get more profit. Therefore, it is all the more how not unwanted activities and wastages, which discussed earlier. Since this is a profit center, any activity in the profit center should generate profit, and that is what we are going to look. How do we generate profit and what activities you need to control in this particular lesson. So, what are the factors that control the cost? The first and foremost is efficient system of storekeeping. Why efficient system of storekeeping? We discussed last time, store is a repository of material and material is nothing but money. Therefore, if you lose something, deterioration or anything, it is money going down the drain. It doesn't add a value, that only adds wastage. Therefore, the storekeeping is efficient, proper storage, proper retrieval, proper maintenance of the goods, then you will not lose anything. The basic value will be maintained, wastage will be eliminated. So, efficient system of storekeeping is one of the fundamental things which helps in cost control. The next one is consumption without wastage. As we discussed here, what is consumption? Consumption is actual units used plus scrap or waste. The waste could be anything, it could be evaporation loss, it could be scrap, anything. But what we require is the actual units that go into the final, that reflect in the final product. Therefore, you have without adding any wastage. Now, if you go and buy gold, they say wastage 10%, wastage 8%. What does it mean? While making the thing, they lose some gold. By when they work out on that, they lose some gold. This is what they call as wastage, for which you are paying when you buy gold ornaments. That is why they say don't go for gold ornaments, don't go for gold coins, only go for exchange traded funds where you don't have to pay any wastage or making charges, polishing charges and all those things. Now, that is what is called as consumption without wastage. How do you consume without wastage? If you are using petroleum oil products, there will be a evaporation loss. How do you control it? By recirculating the evaporated gases back into the main pool and getting back the amount of evaporation, reduce amount of evaporation and get down whatever evaporated gas is there back as a liquid. This is what the modern cars and the Japanese cars they are doing by increasing the changing the type of the neck and reducing it, or by adding some additive in the fuel, they reduce the evaporation losses. So these are all some of the ways by which wastage is consumed, reduced by consumption. And again, if you want to use only 1 liter of say something, why should you use 10 liters of that liquid? So most of them they evaporate, they waste, they go down the drain. So you have to see what is actually required, how much is the ideal situation, what is your requirement. Based on that, liquids, etc., especially cutting tools and all those things, you should be very, very careful in using the coolants and other material which are used in the cutting tools. Now, avoid overstocking. What is overstocking? Supposing you require, say, your consumption requirement is only say 100 units per month. How much? If you ask me, I'll say only keep for. This is what has led to jet inventory, just in time inventory. So you require the material only when you want, not you unnecessarily keep the material with you. For that you are going to pay inventory carrying cost. There will be damage, things in that. So avoid overstocking. Produce one. You produce something and keep it in stock, it becomes a old stock. Avoid this. This is the way you can cut down the cost because you won't lock up huge money in the finished goods inventory. You don't lock up huge in the work in process inventory. Don't lock up huge money in the raw material. These things will help you a long way in cutting down your inventory in shops and finished goods, and that will give you lot of leeway in the cost control because you don't spend money on that unnecessarily on a dead stock. Don't spend money on dead stock, spend money only where you need to spend and not on dead stock. Then comes the next one is material handling. How do you do it? Material handling is a doesn't add anything to your value. Material handling is a waste only. Handle only when material handling adds no value. If you move a material from here to here, that's all. You only incur expense. There is no value in that. So try to reduce it. What has been observed is in many of the companies, nearly 70% of the cost goes towards material handling, especially in heavy industries like shipping and all those things. Material handling is a major cost, not the raw material cost, and it is hidden. Nobody looks at it. So many cranes are working, so many operators are working, so much of electricity is being spent on that. Diesel is being spent on this thing, metal handling and trucks and other things. It's a huge. So metal handling system should be such that you should produce things in handling, use gravity wherever possible. Don't use any mechanical means to move it. It is better to use gravity because gravity is cheap. And these are all the fundamental systems in reducing metal handling. As far as possible, avoid multiple handling. From one step to another step, keep the production process in such a way as the material moves, some production is being done, some value is added, and there is no idle metal handling. Based on this only, the system of group technology came in, cells were made, where all the machining activities concerned to a particular type of requirement was put in one cell. The metal was not moving from one place to place, it was revolving only around the cell in a forward way, not in a circular way, and then it was going out. Not like noodles, going up and down this way, that way, and always. It was only moving. See, like here one machine, here, machine 1, machine 2, machine 3. So a metal will move like this. Or somebody uses it, machine 1 to machine 3, then comes machine 2, again machine 1. No, this sort of a noodle like movement is not wanted. This is the correct way movement. Produce while moving, go towards the objective. Don't move here and there unnecessarily. The next one is utilize waste. How do you utilize waste? There is nothing, as far as economic theory is concerned, there is nothing which is called waste. The output of an industry is the input of another industry. So, you may produce scrap. From that scrap, somebody may produce washers. Somebody may produce something else. So, it all depends. What you call as scrap is a raw material for somebody. So, you should know how to use your own waste. I can give you a beautiful example of Shriram Cements. They were making gases, acetylene gases, for which they were using calcium carbide. From this they were getting acetylene, C2H2. But they were using a huge amount of sludge. That sludge became a very big nuisance for them to dispose because there were a lot of cases going on them against this Prevention of Pollution Act. So they didn't know how to get into that calcium carbide sludge. They were first dumping it on the ground, then it was affecting the groundwater. So the Rajasthan government in Kota, they gave them notices. Then they came out with a way. They used the calcium carbide sludge to produce cement. What was waste for them has become a raw material for another industry, and they literally got that free of cost. And somebody was even saying you are unnecessarily wasting money on this because this is a very costly process you are doing. But the reply of the management was, yes, it is a costly process, but I avoid dumping it to somewhere else and paying heavy penalties to the Prevention of Pollution Control Board. Rather, I would convert it into some useful raw material and use it there. And today, at that time, cement was priced at 26 rupees. Today, the cement bag is costing more than 140 rupees. That has become a very profitable industry because they get literally at zero cost. Only the conversion cost. Maybe it is a old technology, but still, it's an energy consuming technology, but still they are getting good returns in respect of other industries because of zero raw material cost. This is how waste is utilized. You should always see how you can utilize the waste. Nothing is waste, as I told you. Waste of your industry is the input of some other industry. You should analyze it and use it. Down the line, if you go to Russia and all, they use steam in a big way in steel mills and all those things, heat. What they do is the flue gas and all those things, they use it for heating the houses during winter. They are not just like that thrown out. The same way, when you go to a petroleum refinery, from top to bottom you get so many distillates. Finally, whatever they cannot control, only that is flared. Now they are talking of, this Bombay High, they were flaring so much of gas because they did not know the technology to use it. Now, one of the IIT professors, he once gave 3 proposals to India to be energy self-sufficient. One was zero flaring of gases in Bombay High, and then complete electrification of Indian railways, and then he said efficient usage of braking and then controlling the speed so that it moves on its own momentum. So by doing all these things, they said you can save huge amount of energy, and they got the zero flaring of the Bombay High field within 10 years, and that is what is coming to you as gas. And today you don't have sufficient gas. You want to give us a feedstock to your fertilizer factories, or to lighten up your houses, or to use it as a use it in your the thermal power stations. So this is the way how waste is being used. That was actually wasted and flared in the oil fields. But now because of zero flaring, you got those gases. You have to spend something to utilize those gases. You have to have pipeline, etc., which they have done it. And that zero flaring has saved you a lot of energy, lot of import costs. And this is how we have come out of that very bad situation which we were during the Arab-Israel war, when we had to literally, we had no money to even import through 2 weeks petroleum products. So we have to be very, very careful in utilization of waste. Allow no wastage to go out of the factory. Try to use whatever is possible. Control labor cost. Labor cost is one thing. You should have good control on that. How do you do that? You do a time motion study. You have a very good time recording system, and you always fix the labor hours and pay him in hours. Don't pay them on per diem basis. Pay them in hours. You are paid so many hours, so much labor you are supposed to do. There should be a linkage between the work output and the wages paid. Otherwise, you will have only wasteful payment on labor. You will be using the labor waste. Next one is improve supervision and inspection. If you are utilizing labor, there should be good supervision. There should be very good inspection. You just cannot allow them to go do whatever they want. I have seen in many factories, second shifts are not controlled properly. After about 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, people go to sleep. Nobody will work because there is no control. You don't have proper control of what is happening in the second shift. They say we have produced whatever is required, our target, so we are not doing anything. By sheerly improving the supervision and proper inspection of what is happening in the second shift, you can straight away improve your productivity by 10 to 15%, which is otherwise going as a waste. That's also a control of waste and control of cost and improving the cost realization. Then next comes the linking of wage to productivity. You just don't give a wage based on monthly salary or something. If you are giving a salary of say 10,000 rupees to a person, he should give you a productivity of 10,000 plus. Otherwise, there is no point in keeping a person and giving him 10,000 rupees salary if he is going to be, that money is going to be wasted. Productivity should be more than what you have spent on that. That linkage should be there. Another one is overhead control. Overhead is one thing which is absolute waste. It does not add any value. It only adds overheads. What are the overheads generally? There are various types of overheads. Production overheads are there, like electricity, water, and then your welfare expenses, and then travel expenses. All those things, these are all overheads. They don't contribute anything to the product cost. They are only overheads. So how do you control it? First and foremost, you must have a very good budget. Based on your activities, there are the various types of budgeting. One is activity budgeting, which exactly links each and every activity to the budget. That is very difficult to handle. There is again zero-based budgeting. The traditional budget is last year what you have spent. this year you just add some percentage to that and use it. That is not the correct way of budgeting. Either you go for zero-based budget or you go for activity-based budgeting. ABB you call it. These are the one which help you having a very good connection between the productivity and the cost. And you must also control the budget. Every month there should be a meeting where you put up what are the costs you incurred, what are the output, whether you are plus or minus with respect to budget, how are you going to adjust the future budget requirement, what are you going to cut on that. Then comes the control of indirect and labor cost. Any cost which is not directly going to productivity is an indirect cost. Say for example a supervisor is there. Supervisor doesn't add any value, only a labor adds value. Same way material handling is a wasteful cost. Like that your welfare cost, they are also not adding any direct value. So you have to control on these costs so that you will have a total control on your cost and then you don't spend unnecessarily too much of money on unwanted things. Budget is the one which gives you a clear idea. Then simplify procedures. If you have a very complicated procedure, then unnecessarily time will be wasted, money will be wasted, papers will be wasted. Don't do that. There will be a lot of time, reaction time will be very high. So you better have a simplified procedures that will help you to control the cost. Then comes the overtime. Is overtime required? Now it has become a very big menace in the industry. Avoid OT. If you are going to do OT, what is the output in that OT and what money you can get on that OT? Cost of OT should be greater than amount generated by OT. If it is not OT is one thing. No, it should be greater than the cost of OT, amount generated by OT, by virtue of sales, production, etc. should be more than the cost of OT. Otherwise, don't have OT. And many people blindly they go for OT. Sometimes you can explain to your customer, instead of giving it to you today, I'll give it to you tomorrow. That is better way than unnecessarily putting on OT and pushing things through just to meet targets. That's what happens in many of the companies because they set a target and they sleep over the time and then they say you have a OT and then clear it. That's not a correct procedure of running the shop. Then indirect material, again you have to have standards. What are the standards? How much I should use of this one, say sandpaper. How much of grinding wheel I should use? How much is a tool life? How much pieces I should take out from this tool? You must have a standard for all this indirect material. Then control them, control the budget here also. You should do it through the budget. Then use IT and computer as much as possible wherever you can and link this with the vendors. These will help you in control of wastages in indirect material. People just throw it out, they use it halfway and throw it out. Don't do like that. Try to see where else you can use it. Then general cost control, there are some techniques. What is that? Analyze the cost and usage. Supposing I am spending 1 rupee, am I spending towards production or out of which 1 rupee, how much is going towards production? What is the percentage that goes to direct production? How much percentage goes to overheads and unwanted things? So if you control that and take only those which are spent to production, then you would have achieved a lot of cost control in that process. Next comes use VA. What is VA? Value analysis. Value analysis helps you in maintaining the value and at the same time eliminate all unwanted costs. Last time we have seen in great detail what is value analysis, how it has been used efficiently and effectively. It cuts down cost very beautifully, at the same time maintains the value, or many times it gives a better value. Then comes standardization. What is standardization? If you have a standardization, automatically the varieties of store will be reduced. Instead of having 10 varieties of items, you will have only 4 varieties of items which are standards. Standardized items are easily available in the market. They don't have to tailor make material for you. If you don't standardize, they have to specifically make for you, which is very expensive. If it is standardized, you can get easily from the market those items. Especially in electronics and all those things, there is a very high level of standardization. Almost in every industry, there is a very high level of standardization. There are industry standards, there are country level standards, there are global standards, there are technological standards like American Institute of Petroleum Standards and then explosive standards and all those things. Depending upon your requirement, you have to use the best standard so that you can procure the right material without losing value, because your value chain is most important. Don't lose the value, but see that you don't incur unnecessary cost in chasing the value. Value should be there, but at a reasonable cost. How you can do it? Sometimes you may go for a better variety that may be cheaper than making exclusively for your requirement. Update old ideas. Whatever idea you have got, old ideas, not okay 10 years back. Today it may be useful in today's context. So update, take the example group technology or CNC machines. Group technology was developed as a counter to CNC machines. But what happened? Those days CNC machines were very expensive because computer was expensive and they did not have much of application packages. Now with the increment of knowledge, with the improvement of knowledge, there are a lot of application packages available. CNC computers have become very cheap. So CNC technology has become cheap and group technology has lost its relevance, not so much, but it can still be used for single line production and various other things because it reduces the material handling movement. So combination of both these technology, group technology as well as your CNC machines will give you a very good cost control effect. So this is called updation of old data. It was not feasible 10 years ago, but today it is feasible. Today you have got CNC machines. There was a time when in computer you must have an air conditioned room, dust proof room and all. Today it is not required. Anywhere you can use your laptop. So technologies have changed, ideas have to change. So you have to update your idea, old ideas to suit the current requirement. Then you get answer for many of your problems. Then check purchase practices. What is a purchase practice of you? Do you have a practice of buying in bulk? Do you have a practice of buying in loose? What are your practices? Do you buy from the manufacturer or do you buy from the wholesaler? Do you buy from the retailers? All those things are important. How do you fix the price? These things have to be previously very often verified and updated so that you get the right price for a right quality. And with the standardization, you can give more job to a same fellow, which will help you in cost reduction. Now come to the next point, cost and usage analysis. What is cost and usage analysis? Cost and usage analysis is how much you are spending and what is the usage. Are you getting the real usage or you are not getting the real usage? So, where you are using and for what materials you are using, can that be changed? Can that be removed? Can that be stopped? This is called why and when and what. See, you keep on asking the question why you are doing it, why you are doing it, why you are doing, why you are doing. What am I doing is correct or not? So the 5 whys and the 1 what is the analysis which helps you in coming out with the reduction cost analysis and usage analysis, and then you can say whether I can change the usage or I can remove this usage or I can stop the usage. Is it worth the amount of materials? Whatever material I am using, is it worth? See, there was a period when you are using gold OS. Now you are using gold plated OS. Now you are changed to silver plated OS. Now it's the aluminum OS, copper OS, you went to aluminum. Then you have got steel reinforced aluminum OS, cables. So things are changing. So whether I should change it, is it worth the amount of materials? What I am spending on that? That should be always checked. Compare the usage in different materials areas and study the same. Take the case of a big refinery. It's a typical case that is applicable for everybody. That refinery, that company is an American company that refineries all over the world. They use different crudes in different countries. They came out, they were using identical crude in India and Indonesia. And their audit, they came and they found out, in crude oil, when you do the distillation, you get different byproducts. Various products come in. There is one thing called as NC thinner and the other one is petrol. NC thinner and petrol, they are very close in their chemical composition. You can find out the difference only by lab test and by nothing else, not by smell or anything usage. Both are highly inflammable. And but NC thinner is used in painting industry and it is costlier than petrol. So what happened in India? Petrol was coming out more and NC thinner was coming out less, whereas in Indonesia, NC thinner was more, petrol was not the ratio between AC thinner and petrol for the same crude was different in Indonesia and different in India. When they went deep into that, they found out a big fraud was going on, where petrol was being removed, NC thinner was being removed as petrol, and it was sold in the market at thrice the price, and company was not getting anything, and they could not catch the fellow, they could not lay the hands on where the money has gone, but they only could dismiss some people who were in that line. So this helps the company because they try to analyze the standards of one country with another country, usage in different areas, and then you have to study the tool wear. If you are using a tool, how much is the wear here, how much is the wear there? Same way, in different areas, what is the tool wear? If there is an excessive tool wear, what is the problem? Is it because of poor tool? Is it because of a tough material? Or is it because of poor machine? So you have to are untrained machinist. So all these things have to be studied, and then you can eliminate the wastage on tool wear. Then purchase practices. What are the purchase practices that can help in cost control? Number one, avoid over specification. We always have excessive specification than what is required. Designers try to give excessive specification, then the user gives some more specification. Ultimately, the specification is a huge one, and in the market something else is available. So you can get a material at a lower specification, a lower cost, but you will buy a material at a higher specification at a higher cost. So avoid over specification. Specify only what is required. Don't over specify anything. Use readily available usable components for instead of using specially designed components. As we discussed earlier, standardization helps in this thing. If you standardize your product, you can get standard inputs. Take for example a bolt. If you specially design a bolt for your use, it will cost you a lot. But if you go for a standard market design, a millimeter bolt or a BSW bolt or BSF bolt, then they will not have that problem. So you should go for the standardization and standard item if you use, then it will help you reduce the cost. Then quantity discounts. Try to use quantity discounts wherever possible. Then comes the transport and handling. Reduce the cost of transport, reduce the cost of handling by marshalling all your products from one place and bringing by same truck or same way, so that this could reduce the handling and transportation cost. Then consolidated purchases to save transport. If you are getting 10 items from one area, you consolidate everything and bring in one truck. That will save you a lot of cost instead of getting 10 small loads. Then your next area of priority is check the existing stock for substitute use. If you have got some stock with you which is not moving, before buying an item, you just see whether I can use this stock and use it as a substitute instead of buying a new one. This will have a two-way effect. Number one, it will reduce the inventory. Number two, you don't have to buy and waste money on that. It saves time. It saves line stop, etc. Many times, many companies, they try to do this. Then comes the value analysis. As you have seen earlier, value analysis is one thing which can give you specific improved value but reduced cost. So let us do value analysis wherever possible and cut down the cost. This will help in controlling the cost. Standardization is what? You have to standardize all your items. Whatever you are purchasing, you have to go by standards. Go and buy only in that standard. If you are in India, you go for BIS standards. If you are in the global area, you have to use the standard which is used by globally, like American Petroleum Institute standard or GHOST standard. And then if you are going in military electronics, MIL standard. So there are so many standards. You use the right standard and go for that. In global purchases, you may require those standards. In Indian purchases, it is BIS standards, that is Bureau of Indian Standards, where you get the right type of thing at the right type of price, because everybody manufactures in the same way and nobody can go again beyond BIS. And if you say BIS this standard, that has to cover all your quality requirements. This is how standardization helps you. Then comes the learning curve. What is learning curve? Learning curve is, this is time, this is output. Initially, this fellow may be giving a small output, then gradually it will go up, then it will come steadily. So with the help of time, this will go up and then it will flatten. That means here he has reached the peak level. Afterwards, output may not go up, but initially it will go up. So when you are placing an order, if a new item is made, you should see the learning curve is being followed. If you are here, yes, you can go. Already here, you can do nothing. It cannot be reduced. But if you are here, yes, After a few months, you should check the productivity of your vendor, and that can help you in reducing the price, because learning curve will cut down the cost in a big way in your own in-house as well as the out-house. Then comes negotiations. What is negotiation? Negotiation is a win-win approach. Negotiation is win-win approach. Negotiation doesn't mean bargaining. Bargaining is different. In negotiation, you also win, your vendor also wins. Neither of the party goes that they have lost something. So you give him something and you take something from him, both of you win. Negotiation is a very elaborate technique where it could be on price, it could be on delivery schedule, it could be on quality, it could be on improvement of productivity. So many things can be negotiated and you can get a better result. Ultimately, there will be a good cost control. Then comes price forecast. One should forecast the price. What will be the price 1 month hence? Say if you are dealing in gold or cotton, or say any raw material like paddy or groundnut, you should know what is the likely price in the next season, what is the likely price after 6 months. Based on that, you must have forecast, and accordingly, you should get in at the right time and buy the right quantity and the right quality. This price forecast help you hedging. Hedging is nothing but you hedge one commodity that goes up against a commodity which comes down, so that whatever loss you incur and the price increase, you can make up in the price decrease of the other commodity. Then comes the make or buy decision. This is most important if you want to make what will be the cost. Make or buy decisions can be done in various times. One is, if you do not have sufficient capacity within you, then you may have to buy. So in that situation, you have no other choice, buy. Then you may have other alternative. You may use OT, overtime, and buy. The overtime cost you work out, and if buying cost is cheaper, buy, don't make. And again, within your house, if you are going to make, it is going to cost you more. Please don't make, buy it. Because many of the companies, as they go up and up, the cost of production goes up. Companies like L&T, they buy many of the products which are not very highly complicated to manufacture or very high quality requirements. They buy from vendors instead of making it in-house. There are some companies who want to make everything by themselves. That is not correct. Buy decision is required when you want to do some improvement in cost, and when your costs are going up, when your quality is deteriorating, or vendor can give a better quality, you can develop vendors and you can get a better. If the cost is cheaper to make, you make it. If the cost is very expensive, I tell you, in DCM Toyota, the then project in charge, he said, we will make everything here, because the cost was very less. All those poles and all those things, even canteen furniture he made inside, because the cost, he used the scrap, he never purchased anything extra. Whatever scrap steel was there, he used it, and from that he made it. So there he saved a lot of cost. That's a make or buy decision. He made it and reduced the cost. Sometimes we buy it to reduce the cost. It can be either ways. It depends upon the cost. If the cost is high to buy, don't buy. If the cost is high to make, don't make. That is how the situation is handled. So now let us come to the conclusion. Cost control is very effective in materials management because it's a profit center. Cost control can be done at various areas like storekeeping, consumption without wastage, avoidance of overstocking, removal in handling, unwanted handling, utilizing waste, controlling labor cost, and then improved supervision, overhead control, indirect material control, general cost control. Then cost and usage analysis is one area which gives you how to analyze the cost with respect to the usage, and then compare the cost in different areas and come out with the standard areas. Then come purchase practices, avoid over specification, use readily usable component than specially making for it, because that will be cheaper to buy readily usable than to make it. Then utilize quantity discounts, value analysis, standardization, and the existing stock should be always checked for substitute use before going for a new purchase. Learning curve helps you in cutting down the cost. Negotiations help you in cutting down the cost. And overall, price forecasts are most important in commodities. Hedging is also will help you in a big way in commodities. and make or buy decisions help you in cost control in a big way. With this, we come to the conclusion of this session. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.